So I'm sitting here having a bowl of oatmeal, which I do just about every day. And I got to thinking, not about world peace, not about how they get the caramel in the caramel bar.
I'm willing to pay anything. Anything.
But I actually got to thinking about oatmeal. And why is it that we all turn to oatmeal? Why is oatmeal a $7.64 billion industry and just keep rising? Like, why is that? I just think it's crazy. Although there's no definition for a superfood, it is a very high nutritionally dense food, and it's something that a lot of us eat. The highest consumption in the world is in Denmark. The highest consumption in the US is in Vermont. But it still got me to wondering, what about all the other players in the breakfast cereal world? And I'm not even talking about some of the ones that maybe are in vogue now, like amaranth, now millet. I always thought millet was birdseed, but now millet is a breakfast cereal. Or Kesha, she's a singer. Kasha. That's a whole groat of buckwheat. In fact, that's one of Russia's national dishes. So what about just the other ones? Like maybe you had as a child, like I did. What about cream of wheat? What about cornmeal? Well, welcome to the video, because this is oatmeal versus the other guys. Oatmeal comes in lots of different forms, from the most processed instant oatmeal to quick oatmeal to rolled oats to our good buddy steel cut. Generally speaking, steel cut to rolled oats are very much the same as far as our nutritional content goes. Where the big difference is in our glycemic index, how quickly that's turned into sugar. So of course, the least processed is going to be our steel cut, which means our body has to do more of the processing, so our glycemic index is lower. Steel cut oats have a glycemic index nice and low, 42 to 53. Rolled oats, 53, 57, and the quick oats up there at 83. Now, to be honest with you, I usually use rolled oats. I just make them in the microwave because I'm kind of lazy. Even though steel cut, they take a little bit longer and they're great. You can just add a little bit more water and have them the next day or the next day. And I really do like making that in my Instapot. But so for the sake of argument today, we're going to just treat all oats equally. Here are my other contenders for the day. And what are we going to be looking at? Well, we want to compare calories, cooking time, fiber, protein, maybe fat. Maybe there's something else in some of these. And we want to see if maybe one of these can make it into our daily routine. Over here, I've got polenta, also known as cornmeal. This one I had a lot as a young girl, so let's take a taste of that pretty soon. Here's oat bran. This one is made just from the outside of the oat groat, as opposed to oatmeal, which is the full oat groat that's all chopped up. Cream of wheat. This was a favorite in my house. Then we've got creamy buckwheat and good old Red River. 10 minutes for the buckwheat, 5 minutes for the cornmeal, and just 2 minutes to 3 minutes for the oat bran. All right, let's start with cornmeal. So I did have this. Did you guys, anybody have this when you were little? I had this. We had this quite often. I know that a lot of Italians eat polenta, whether they call it polenta or cornmeal bread, but of course, very mild, very not gritty at all. This does have the highest calories of our whole selection here at 170. This also has the highest carbs at 37. The glycemic index is also high. There are 4 grams of protein in our cornmeal versus our 5 in our oatmeal. And there's only 2 grams of fiber versus our 4 grams over here. So you know what? The color is nice. The color is different. Oh, and that's kind of nice, but I don't think that this is going to be replacing my oatmeal anytime soon. Let's move on. let's go on to our creamy buckwheat. And never mind the name, because there's no wheat. This is not a gluten. It comes from a seed, not from wheat. And very dense, a different kind of a flavor. As I mentioned, buckwheat is also kasha, which is the full groat that they eat a lot in Russia. Now this one comes in for a quarter cup at 160 calories. This has 2 grams of fiber and 3 grams of protein. It's pretty quick on the cooking time, which isn't too bad. Kind of looks a lot like oatmeal. Not a bad alternative, but I don't really know that it's doing anything more for me other than just changing it up just a little bit. This has half the potassium as our oatmeal at 75 versus 150 milligrams. So I don't know that I'm really going to be giving this one too many high marks. Let's move on to cream of wheat. Cream of wheat has been around for almost forever. It was developed in North Dakota in 1893. So you know what? That's got some longevity there. Staple in my house when I was little, quarter of a cup, which really expands because you use a lot more water in this one. A quarter of a cup is 150 calories. Oh, that's still hot. It's very creamy. I have to say I really like it. Even though I typically like things that are more crunchy and kind of gritty, this one is really nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do a whole lot for us with only 1 gram of fiber. There's 4 grams of protein, and it's the only one that you have to watch the sodium. There's 150 milligrams of sodium in our cream of wheat. Now, we did put a little pinch of salt in the other ones, but that's not going to be 150 milligrams. And actually, this one called for a pinch of salt as well, so go figure that one out. The other interesting thing about the cream of wheat, it has by far the most iron of all of them at 5.5 grams, really triple what we have in our oatmeal. Not that we're really looking for, our big iron source in our hot cereal, but if you are low on iron and you're looking for a little bit of an extra boost, cream of wheat. This one also cooks super, super fast at just 3 minutes. And, I kind of wish that it just had a little bit more fiber and a little bit more protein because I really like it. Let's move along to our oat bran. Okay, so you know what? It almost doesn't even seem fair because look at how giant our portion size is compared to all the other ones. And yet the portion size on the package does say half a cup. And even at a half a cup, it's still less calories than our oatmeal. This one's coming in at 140 calories versus 150 calories. So really, to be honest, let's say it's negligible. But you are getting a lot more volume here. And this one has a really fast cooking time with only a few minutes. This one also has 5 grams of fiber versus the 4 in our oatmeal. This one has 4 grams of fiber with 2 soluble and 2 insoluble. And this one has 5 grams with 3 soluble and 2 insoluble. Again, if we're talking about iron, this one has 2.6 grams of iron, more than our 1.75 in our oatmeal. It's nice and creamy. I have to say, it's really, really good. Similar in texture, not chewy and nutty like our oatmeal, but really kind of nice. On top of that, this one has 6 grams of protein. So this is the protein winner. So right now, this is looking pretty good. We've got the most protein, we've got the most fiber, we've got the fastest cooking, and the biggest portion, and less calories. So yay for oat bran. If we want to talk about the fat content, 3 grams of fat versus 2.5, again, negligible. And we all need the fat, so I'm not worried about any of the fat in any of them. This one at 3 is one of the higher ones because we got a 1.5 grams of fat here, not even half a gram of fat here. And this one, 0 grams of fat in this one. But really, we're not looking at the fat, are we? Last but not least, Red River cereal. Now, this one, if you're a Red River fan, you may have noticed that it was off the market. And it's been around. They're just going to be celebrating their 100th year anniversary. They did go off the market in 2021. It was owned by Smuckers. but they've since resold it to another company, so they are remaking it again. It is originally made in Canada, and it's made in Canada again now. Very, very similar to a US brand called Sunny Boy, but apparently the Sunny Boy has more rye. This is a combination of wheat, rye, and flax. And I have to tell you, I really love flax seeds. And so this one looks like whole grain bread. This one has probably the most interesting as far as texture wise. I do like this very much. Now again, this one has more fiber than our oatmeal, 6 grams versus 4 grams. The powerhouse in the fiber is definitely going to be with our Red River. The downside, cooking time, 12 to 14 minutes. So that's standing at the stove. I went with stovetop for all of them, and I'm going to confess to you right here, I generally go, especially for a single serving, in the microwave, because you know what? Then I've got the pot and the stirrings thing, and then I've got the bowl. So usually I like the microwave. This does not work in the microwave very well at all. 2.5 grams of fat, same as in our oatmeal. And I do like this for a change. The cooking for that length of time is going to put me off. I might try to do it in the microwave. Hopefully I would have more success than I would have with the steel cut oats in the microwave. So that is a little bit of a downfall. I do like the taste very much. Okay, let's do the rose ceremony. Let's narrow it down a little bit. I'm personally going to send these two guys home. Not that I would never have this creamy buckwheat, because I probably would, but when I've had the comparison of all of these guys are going home. All right, truth be told, I'm hanging on to the cream of wheat, I think out of nostalgia more than anything else, because the fiber, there's no fiber in this. And you know, I'm really wanting to have some hot cereal because I want to get that boost of fiber. And when I want to add my fruit and my yogurt and everything like that, the cream of wheat is just not cutting it. So I'm not worried about the extra sodium in here, but I am worried about the lack of fiber. So bye-bye cream of wheat. And then there were 3. And I think Red River, as much as I really love those flax seeds and I like that crunchy grain, and it reminds me of a nice piece of crunchy grain toast, the cooking time is really long. And yes, I can make it ahead, and maybe I can do it in my Instapot, and maybe it will reconstitute just as well as my steel cut oats. But for quick and fast, not going to cut it. But I am going to keep this in my kitchen to be using a lot. So I love you, Red River, but you're going home too. Okay, we're duking it out. We've got oat bran versus oatmeal. And you know what? We all love oatmeal. Like, what can I say? I started the whole video telling you about the billions of dollars of people that are eating oatmeal. But you know what? I think when it comes down to it, we have got to get onto this oat bran train, because this is really fantastic. You get way, way more volume if you're a volume kind of eater and you like to eat more, like I tend to do. If you're looking for more of that chewy kind of texture, then of course you're not going to replace it, but only that goes with the steel cut. If you're going for rolled oats, you're not getting that same kind of chewiness, okay? But this is amazing. And the macros in this oat bran are in fact superior to our oatmeal. We get a whole half cup, which really translates into a whole lot of breakfast, for 140 calories versus our 150 calories. We've got 5 grams of fiber versus 4 grams of fiber. We've got 6 grams of protein versus 5 grams of protein. And this is amazing. And I'm pretty surprised. And I'm not going to stop eating oatmeal. And I'm probably going to have it still, maybe as much as I've always had it. But I'm going to remember this oat bran because this is a winner. And I really think that you should all try it. It's kind of interesting that the bottom line is we're down to the oat versus the oat. And I am going to for sure go with this one. It's super fine, so it's really easy to add into other things that you just really need that fiber boost, more so than the grittiness of the steel cut oats. So you know what? I don't think oatmeal is going anywhere, and it's certainly not going and leaving my house anytime soon, but I am for sure gonna add the oat bran and I hope you're going to add the oat bran too. And I hope you enjoyed the video and look forward to seeing you in the next one.